I'm Steve Altition, Director of Client Partnerships at Pacific Cascade Legal. And today I'm here with certified divorce financial analyst and founder of the nonprofit organization Savvy Ladies, Stacy Francis, to discuss Social Security laws and how they impact widowed parents. Well, that was a mouthful. Stacy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous, Steve. I'm so excited to be talking about Social Security. It's one of the most complicated, misunderstood things that can put literally thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars back in people's pockets if they know the information they need to know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That in Medicare, it's like lawyers have no idea what this stuff is. So the people that we serve, this is a great thing for them.
It sure
But
is. It sure
before we
is.
start, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I feel like I have the best job in the world. I am fortunate enough to get to work primarily with women, helping them really build their financial security after divorce, during the divorce process, and a lot of our clients, their spouse has passed away. I personally saw growing up how important it is for everyone to understand their finances, but really, especially for women. My grandmother was in a very unhealthy marriage. It was actually an abusive marriage, and she never left. And she struggled to be able to leave, and shared that she felt financially trapped. And a lot of women do find themselves in difficult situations, unhappy marriages, and even exiting that marriage, just not having the financial knowledge that they need to be able to move forward in their life with real confidence. And that's why I love this work so much, and why I just jumped at the chance to talk about this topic, because Social Security, particularly for women, is a really important topic to understand.
Oh, well, I'm sure we're gonna get into a lot of cool stuff today. And one thing I was thinking as I was starting to write up was that, there's people out there probably listening in their 30s, 40s, and they hear the term Social Security and they go, well, what's this got to do with me? So I
Yeah.
think to start, my first question is, why is this an important topic for everyone to understand?
Yeah, I have to say, Social Security, if you're in your 30s or 40s, a lot of people just kind of tune out. But it actually can be extremely important in helping you make good decisions about your career, and also about how much you need to save for retirement. A lot of individuals, one person I spoke to recently, her entire career had been paid mostly in cash off the books. And so she went to go apply for her Social Security benefit now that she's at full retirement age, and it was nearly non-existent. She didn't plan for that. She hasn't saved outside of Social Security, so is finding herself in a really difficult position. So the size of your earnings that you actually report to the IRS and you pay taxes on, your earnings history is very important, because that is what is going to be considered when calculating your retirement benefits, but also for when you get married, if you pass away, for your spouse, for their surviving benefit, and even for your children if you pass away when you have dependent children. So maximizing your earnings during your work years is really key.
Oh, yeah. And you mentioned when I think people went, huh? It's you, it's your spouse, it could be your children, it can be
Yeah.
a lot of different people. So a lot of widows I know are unsure about eligibility criteria for Social Security benefits. And, so after their spouse passes away, and so can we start by kind of breaking down the basics of the eligibility criteria?
So when a person passes away who is eligible for Social Security, the surviving spouse most likely qualifies for what's called a survivor benefit. And Steve, it sounds very simple, right? but actually it's really quite complex and often very poorly misunderstood. So the things you need to think about first is, am I eligible? In order to be able to collect on your spouse's benefit for a survivor benefit, you need to have been married for at least 9 months prior to their death. Most people can check that off. If you were divorced from that person but had been married to them for 10 years and not remarried, then check again. You most likely also are able to collect on their benefit. There's a catch, though. That person who passed away needs to have worked and received 40 credits through the Social Security Administration. You get up to 4 credits a year for working, so about 10 years of working experience. There is some variability for those people who are much younger. For younger workers, that they may not have to have that full 40 credits, but those are the things you need to think about. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so you don't have to be, I mean, it's just a question that kind of pops out. You don't have to be 62 and a half or 65 or something like that to collect survivor benefits.
Correct. So the minimum age is age 60. You can collect as early as age 60, but you can also collect even sooner than that. If you have dependent children with that spouse that are age 16 or below, you can also receive a benefit while they are continuing to be until they get to age 16. Other thing to know is that though the children are also potentially eligible for a benefit up to their age 18, or if they're disabled, up to age 22.
Is there a max on that? I mean, because I know there's maxes on maybe your benefit before you die, maybe and your spouse's benefit, and maybe, I don't know, on your kids, but is there are there maxes on theirs or a total max?
So there is. So the government will calculate the maximum family benefit. And when they're looking at the maximum family benefit, they're looking at the benefit paid out to the parent, that parent who has children below age 16, as well as the dependent children. And usually it's not a problem if you have one child and the mom or the dad is receiving that benefit. But boy, woe is the parent that has more than one child, if they have 2, if they have 3 children. And so what unfortunately will happen is that the total family benefit cannot be higher than 150 to 188% of the amount that would have been paid to the deceased parent at their full retirement age. That's a lot of numbers. The Social Security Administration, your financial advisor, can also help you to, again, calculate what is that total benefit for the whole family. But what we have found is because of these, maximum numbers, 150% to 188%, it's very rare for widows with young children, that are, 2, 3, or 4 children, really to get that total amount that when you just look at it, you would expect for each person.
Yeah. There being a family law firm, we obviously deal in a lot of divorces and remarriages. And so it sprung to my mind, does that maximum benefit include both spouses? Because you said that if you were divorced, you could still get spousal survivor benefits. And obviously, I guess the new spouse would. Does that figure into that total, both of them together?
So if there was the situation of, let's say, your spouse that you had been married to for 10 years or more, and you guys are divorced, you have not gotten remarried, that ex-spouse passes away and you have children under age 16, you would be eligible for that benefit. Or even if you didn't have children under age 16, if you're age 60 and above, again, not remarried, you would be eligible for that benefit. If your ex-spouse got remarried and had another 10-year marriage, that person also would be eligible. And the good thing is that the fact that more than one person is collecting on your ex-spouse's benefit in no way reduces what's payable to you, or again, if there's dependent children that you had with your spouse, doesn't reduce what they're eligible for either.
Got it. You just drop one in there that doesn't get remarried. What happens if you do get remarried and then your spouse dies, or you get remarried after your spouse dies? Does that trigger something?
So if the widow remarries before the age of 60, they normally lose their eligibility for the survivor benefits on their ex-spouse's record. So if their ex-spouse that they've been was married to for 10 years passes away, and they've gotten remarried at, let's say, age 58, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to collect on their benefit, most likely. However, if she or he gets remarried after age 60, they may be able to collect. Also, if the widow is caring for that deceased spouse child who is under age 16, that's another option that they can actually collect even if they do get remarried.
How about if the widow goes back to work? Because I'm sure that may have to happen because it's going to be tight potentially financially.
Yeah.
What happens then?
Yeah, Steve, this is a really frustrating topic for a lot of widows. And I just was speaking with an amazing, wonderful woman who has a 6-month-old. Her husband passed away a few months ago. Unbelievably tragic story. We're looking at in her financial plan of her going back to work. And one of the most soul-crushing pieces about that, of not only having to go back to work, any dollars that she earns over, it's about 21,000, then she's going to start to see her benefit, her survivor benefit, be reduced by the Social Security Administration. So the Social Security Administration is essentially going to take $1 from her benefit for every $2 she earns above that $21,000. And so obviously, that this is an issue. It essentially is penalizing widows for trying to take care of their families. It's something that I feel very strongly needs to be spoken about in finding some other ways, because the vast majority of parents do have to go back to work. And for a lot of them, they can be earning a certain amount where they don't even get benefits.
Yeah.
Which
And
is just
you're putting money back
not
into
right.
the system. I mean, she's
Exactly.
going back to work, she's putting money back into the system and then being penalized.
I know. And Steve, and then we're having this conversation of, do I stay home and collect the full benefit? Or, do I go bust my bottom and get a job? And, yeah, it really is a difficult situation, and you feel like you're being penalized for trying to take care of your family financially.
Yeah. And 21,240 isn't a whole lot of which kind of
It
leads
isn't.
to no. And it kind of, it's probably more money in maybe a rural or smaller town that doesn't have a tremendously high cost, but in San Francisco or New York City, I imagine, that's not going to get you very far.
It's not. And a lot of people, they have a misconception of who widows are. They think of that person who might be in their 80s and beyond. But I have to tell you that we are seeing more and more widows being young. And the reality is that the average age of widowhood here in the United States, according to the US Census Bureau, is age 59. And many of these surviving parents have dependent children at home. Losing a spouse at any age is devastating, but for a solo mom or a solo father, who's now, struggling financially to take care of their children, Social Security, even when it is paid out, is often, extremely inadequate to really fill that gap, to replace the lost earnings of that person who passed away.
In the old days, I shouldn't say in the old days, but maybe in the old days, I'm old.
Well, it depends on how many days we're talking about.
I like that. The kind of wrote advice for people if one of the spouses was ill or had some disability issues or things like that, was to be told, okay, you need to get divorced because that will protect you from all those expenses. And you saw that a lot happening. But as we're talking today, I'm thinking, well, hold on, there's a whole other end to this. If you get divorced, you may be cutting yourself out of survivor benefits.
Yeah, actually, Steve, you make a really good point. In the past, we have, and I still do see this as well. We call it or I call it a medical divorce.
Yeah.
When we tend to see this is one of the spouses needs long-term care support, and health insurance does not cover that, and that can be the tune of $10,000 to $15,000 a month in costs. And so they decide to get a divorce to protect the assets of the other person. There are a lot of implications of all of that. Of course, talk to a lawyer, but if you are getting a divorce, you could be cutting off your potentially being able to get survivor benefits if your spouse passes away, if your ex-spouse passes away. And that is definitely the case if you have not been married for at least 10 years. So, these are all things to think about. You never want to, do something without consulting, in particular in that situation, a lawyer. And you would be consulting an elder law attorney. That's the person you would want to talk to.
Yep, absolutely. I'll give an example for me. I am just about to start collecting Social Security.
Good
because
for
I
you.
decided to wait to the very end. So I delayed it, and actually it's working for us. But in the terms of the Social Security benefits and survivorship benefits, are there any potential advantages to delaying benefits?
So there can be, and there's two types of benefits that we're talking about. We're talking about our retirement benefit that you would be eligible for based on your earnings throughout your career. So there's that. Or if your spouse has passed away, the spousal survivor benefits. And for the spousal benefits. So, looking at those two, there are some people that by looking at the benefits, they see that, you know what, it makes sense for me to, maybe collect on my benefit and then switch to the survivor benefit at a later date. Other situations might be where it makes more sense to collect on the survivor benefit and then switch to your own benefit at a later date. It's quite complicated. And again, a financial advisor, the Social Security office can also model these out for you. But what you did makes a lot of sense. So for your own benefit will continue to go up in value the longer you wait. In fact, if you wait till age 70, you get the highest benefit possible. But with survivor benefits, you don't get any additional dollars by waiting till age 70.
Got it.
Once you reach your full retirement age, it's not going to grow any larger. So yes, it makes sense for your benefit to grow to age 70, but once you're at your full retirement age, for a lot of people that's age 66, waiting to collect on a survivor benefit won't necessarily help you. It's not going to grow any larger. And also there's some really cool software that's available that financial advisors have that can actually really just show all these different benefits and what the optimal strategy is for collecting and which one is best to take at what time.
I like that. I'm going to interrupt this for 1 second because it just made me realize as you were talking that maybe we should talk a little bit about your benefits, my benefits, versus my benefits as a spouse versus my benefits as a survivor.
Yep.
Are my benefits somehow wrapped up in this equation of how much I can get for those other benefits? Or, what is there a boundary line there somewhere?
Yeah, so something to know, you cannot generally collect both benefits, right? So even if you're eligible, you can't collect more than just one type of Social Security benefit at one time. There are 3 types of benefits. I just spoke about 2, but I'll talk about the third, and then I'll put them all in context. So the first that we talked about is your personal Social Security benefit. It's based on your earnings history. And as we mentioned, the longer you wait to collect it, if you wait till age 70, you get the highest maximum benefit. So that's based on your earnings history. To get a copy of what you're entitled to, you just go to SSA, Social Security Administration, ssa.gov, and it gives you your work history and also what you'll be eligible for at age 62, full retirement age, and age 70. All right, so the second one is spousal benefits. Spousal benefits is based on the earnings history of your spouse. And you, if you are eligible for up to 50% of your spouse's maximum benefit at your full retirement age. And then the third benefit that we've talked about is the survivor benefit. That too is based on your spouse's earning history, but you are eligible for that if your spouse unfortunately passes away. And instead of 50% of your spouse's benefit, you're eligible for 100% of that benefit. So these are all different options that are available to you. That's why kind of when I was talking about, it sounds pretty straightforward. Your spouse passes away, you're eligible for you're eligible for a survivor benefit. Unfortunately, it's not quite as straightforward because again, you have your benefit, you have the survivor benefit, and a lot of questions in between of which one should I take and when.
Yep. One of the things I remember we talked on when we were getting ready was the problems with the system and trying to get them fixed. To your knowledge, is there anything in the works working on that?
Yeah.
Is there something going on?
So there are several proposals out there that, if enacted, would boost benefits for surviving spouses. Um, Biden has a proposal that would help survivors receiving a survivor benefit, that if they've been collecting that for 20 years or more, they would get a bonus equal to 5%. And the thought process behind that is that if they've been collecting for many years, most likely they might have additional medical expenses. But Steve, I think the challenge is that whether or not Congress is going to agree to this, it's really anyone's guess. I was just on Capitol Hill for International Widows Day a few weeks ago, talking about the challenges widows and widowers face, in particular those with dependent children, and how the Social Security Administration is really failing them, and how they're really suffering financially. These stories that you hear are absolutely heartbreaking, but Steve, the challenge is that, you know, the Social Security Administration and the dollars in the fund to support, you know, millions and millions of claimants, it's really not enough. Over the last couple years, we've seen increases in benefits being paid out. And while that sounds great, the reason those benefits were paid out is truly because of the wild inflation numbers that we've seen. And so there were, you know, some people saw their benefits increase by as much as 8% over this last year, which is great. But even that 8.7 cost of living adjustment, or COLA, really wasn't enough for families that have been struggling.
Yeah.
While that adjustment is lovely, what's ended up happening is that it's now taxing the Social Security Administration funding even more so, meaning that the entire system is even in a more financially precarious position than it was a few years ago.
Do you have some advice? We're getting to the end. This thing went so fast, but I'm wondering if you have what advice you might give to the widows out there who are struggling, or maybe people who are even not aware that they're vulnerable, that they're going to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
You just because it can't, if it's not all solved by Social Security, there's got to be some other ways they can help themselves.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about before losing a spouse, a partner, and then after. Before the loss of a spouse, if you're in that situation, doesn't matter how healthy they are or you are, get life insurance on yourself. It's wicked cheap. You can get $1 million policy for literally, you know, cents on the dollar. It's the best thing you can do to tell your family that you love them. So much of these problems would have been completely erased if these families had the proper amount of life insurance. So that's number one. Number two, if your spouse has passed away, the most important thing you can do is to get the right advice. Millions of dollars are left on the table because people are not understanding these benefits and not understanding how to coordinate them.
Right.
And so the Social Security Administration, but also a very good financial advisor that has expertise in this area, very important, because the more you understand, the more informed you are, the better decisions you're going to be able to make about your financial future. And a big piece is, what is that Social Security benefit, and making sure that you're maximizing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know this, but I would imagine if you have the option between taking two different ones, as you can, like you talked about, you have to tell them I mean,
You do. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And the other thing I will say too, most of the professionals at the Social Security Administration office that I have spoken to have been very knowledgeable. But I have had situations where the answer I get, I'm not so sure about. So this is my advice. If you reach out to the Social Security Administration, whether you're going to the office or you're making a phone call, write down every single word that they say as far as the answers to your questions. Then call back, or then go back to the office again at a different date and make sure that you are getting word for word that same exact advice and answer. Because I have found sometimes it differing and saying, okay, wait here.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you don't want to be leaving, thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on the table.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Wow, we blew through this. But as you said, good advice. So if anyone wants to contact you, and I'm sure there are people who are going to, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me directly at Stacy, STACY, at francisfinancial.com. And you can also visit our website. We have some great information on Social Security and retirement at www.francisfinancial.com. And I also created a beautiful charity in honor of my grandmother called Savvy Ladies. And savvyladies.org, you'll see that there are hundreds and hundreds of courses that you can take. And quite a few of them are specifically about this topic of retirement and Social Security. So a lot of great resources to be able to continue the learning and the understanding.
Oh, I love it. You were a great and are a great resource.
Resource. I know how it is. By the late in the day, my
really?
mouth starts to, right?
But I mean, so all the Social Security stuff is so difficult and so obtuse, and you were able to make it understandable even to someone like me, and that's not easy. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on collecting Social Security. I know you have worked very hard for it,
A long time. Oh my gosh. And everyone else, thank you for joining us today. If anyone has further questions at all, you can also post it here, and we can help get you connected with Stacy. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, and be well.